I'm going to talk about two terms I use often when it comes to healing trauma from a nervous system and a somatic perspective. Now, these terms are you stuck in a trauma response in the trauma cycle, or are you showing up and responding from a survival pattern? Now, ultimately, they're the same, but also very different. And my intention here is to share the differences with you so you can start to recognize when you're showing up stuck in a trauma response, stuck somewhere in the trauma cycle, and when are you showing up and responding from a survival pattern. Now, this is helpful to differentiate and recognize because the more you can see when you're showing up stuck in a cycle or when you're showing up in a pattern, the more you can start to get curious and help yourself out of whatever you're stuck in or shifting these patterns that may no longer be needed. So let's start by exploring the survival pattern. When we look at the survival pattern, we ultimately have a lot of them. And how I look at them is it's a pattern that helps us stay safe. It protects us, right? So we can have all kinds of survival patterns, all kinds of ways of being in the world to help us stay safe or to give us the perception that we are safe. For example, you may not speak up, right? You may not speak your truth. You may keep yourself small and hidden because to speak your truth or to speak up or to share your opinion feels scary as hell. So what do you do instead? You've adapted this pattern to stay small, to stay quiet, right? Or maybe people feel a little scary and connecting with them is too much. So you've found ways to protect your heart, yourself as a whole. You keep people at a distance. You've found these ways of being in the world to keep yourself safe, to keep yourself protected. Because if something happened that allowed someone in, holy crap, that'd be so scary. No, thank you, not worth it. Stay away. Let's keep using these patterns, right? Now, it's important to recognize these patterns can stem from a trauma, okay? They can stem from something happening to us in the past, and then we adapt all these patterns to protect us. And what I feel is really important, what I've experienced both myself and with clients, is really feeling into these patterns from a somatic perspective, noticing how they show up in our body. What is it we do when we're tapping into one of these patterns? How do we feel in our body? What happens? How do we get small? How do we protect our heart? What is it that's happening from a somatic, from a body perspective? Okay, really important to pay attention to. There's also the behavior and understanding why it's there, all that stuff too. That has its relevance. And the more we can piece it all together, the more we can start to recognize why these patterns are here, or if these patterns are even needed, and if it would be okay to get uncomfortable and to feel some of what these patterns were stopping us from feeling. So I'd encourage you to even pause for a sec and check in. Can you think of some survival patterns that you've adapted throughout your life to keep yourself safe? And I put those in air quotes because it's a perception of safety. It's not real safety, right? Now, important to recognize, you may have adapted these in your lifetime, but this could be a whole lineage of patterns that have been adapted, and you've learned how to be in this world from your ancestors in this way. So recognize that some of these patterns may not be yours based on your lifetime. Okay, so a little bit of insight into survival patterns. Now, let's talk the trauma cycle. Now, trauma is ultimately us stuck in this cycle that I'm going to describe in a second. So while I'm describing this cycle, I encourage you to recognize if pieces of this speak to you where you're like, whoa, I show up in my life and it makes sense that I'm stuck in this cycle somewhere. Okay? So on a day-to-day basis, assuming our environment is safe and we have a perception that our environment is safe, we show up in this world from a very exploratory place. I'm taking in my environment, everything feels safe, I'm good to go, I'm interacting, I feel connected, and then something is like a little red flag. I hear a sound or I see something out of the corner of my eye and I move into a little more alertness. I'm taking in and I'm assessing my environment. What was that, right? My brain is analyzing, taking in what just happened? And this is coming more from our midbrain and parts of our lower brain as well, but it's kind of the midbrain and analyzing what was that sound, what was that thing I just saw, right? We're assessing if something is dangerous or not. We might start to also get a little more curious. Now I'll pause for a sec and throw an alertness in there that can happen from a startle. So the red flag might be just a little sound, or it might be some little color or movement that I see, but it could also be a really loud bang, right? Now we could get stuck constantly kind of noticing little things or a loud sound and boom, I'm startled and I'm instantly perceiving this as dangerous. Now, let's say I saw something, I heard something. Let's say I just kind of heard my door make a sound. I'm like, wait a minute, I'm not expecting anyone. So then I'm on a little more alert and I'm orienting in a way that's defensive. I'm sussing out and looking for danger. And so instead of being all exploratory and connected, I'm moving more into, wait, what was that? What was that sound? Is this something I need to be worried about? And I'm starting to tense up a little. I'm starting to contract and get ready in case this is dangerous, right? This is where hypervigilance can happen because I'm on alert. There's a sound, something's dangerous, got to take it all in. What's happening here, right? Now, from that place, if I hear my door open, then I'm going to contract even more and get ready to respond to what's happening. I'm still assessing because it could be someone I know, but there's more of this fight, flee energy that kicks in. I'm not just chilling and relaxing here. I'm ready to respond. Now, if it's someone I don't know, I'm going to jump up and I'm going to, yell, I'm going to make sounds, I'm going to get ready to fight, I'm going to get ready to run out another door, right? I'm getting ready to respond to whatever is showing up in my environment. Now, no matter what, even if this was my sister walking in, I would still have that response because I'm not sure what's happening, right? Something has changed in my environment. Now, once I see it's my sister, I then calm back down. I'm like, oh, it's you. Thanks for scaring me, right? But I'm less contracted. I can breathe again. I moved out of that fight, flee energy, and I'm now connected again with her in my space. I'm able to engage again. And now I've just moved through a cycle. Right? And I'm not going to experience trauma from that. Now, what happens when we have trauma is we get stuck somewhere in that cycle. So, for example, it might be that every time a door opens, because of something that happened in the past, I hear a sound and a door opens, and I instantly think it's someone dangerous, even if I knew my sister was coming over. Right? Or I hear a loud bang, and it sends me into that contraction and that alertness and this fight, flee energy, and I need to do something. There's this sense of danger, 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 danger. What is that? Even though it was just a car backfiring, right? Or maybe I just always live my life constantly looking around, looking for danger, looking for danger, looking for danger, and I don't even know what it means to be connected and to be safe, right? There's all kinds of places within this cycle that we can get stuck. Fight or flee is somewhere else we can get stuck, where we didn't get the opportunity to fight. So anytime someone's walking down the street behind me, I tense up into that response because I want to fight or I want to run, but in some sort of past experience, I didn't get the chance to do that. So now my system still associates anyone walking behind me as dangerous, and I move back into that sympathetic, activating, let's do something here energy. Now, what needs to happen in those situations is we need to move through whatever part of that cycle we're stuck in, okay? This is a lot of information, and I don't expect you to necessarily know where on the cycle you're stuck, but hopefully some of this speaks to you in a way where you recognize, like, oh, there's somewhere in my life where I'm always showing up in that response, where I'm stuck in that trauma response, right? Or I live my life stuck in that trauma response, right? So get curious. Get curious, see if any of this speaks to you, and start to explore a little, Right? There's lots of resources out there. I've got a free resource in my program. We dive deeper into this stuff. There's other resources you can look into. Right? Peter Levine is someone I'm trained under, who is the founder of Somatic Experiencing. That's what this work is all about, is helping people move out of this trauma cycle. Right? So, you got your trauma cycles, you got your survival patterns, and here you are as a human being trying to make your way through the world. My invitation is for you to start to get curious on how you can shift out of all of that so that you can be less in that survival and showing up more as you as an organic human being, in your truth, in your wholeness. Again, whatever words you want to pull in there. So be curious. See what speaks to you. Feel free to share in the comments. Feel free to ask me more questions. Feel free to watch more, research more, check out more resources to dive into this stuff. Because in my opinion, the more you can shift out of your survival patterns, the more you can shift out of your trauma, the more you get to live a more fulfilling life. So let's do this.